The Volari did not arrive in silence. Their ships hummed like distant thunder, low and serene, sliding across Earth's skies with the elegance of migrating whales. To them, Earth was not a conquest or a curiosity. It was a habitat to be catalogued, another feather in the Empire's long, data-rich wings. They did not land in cities or near governments, but in the deep wilderness, places where nature still spoke in its own language. Forests, jungles, deserts, places where humans had receded and life had continued without them. Ranger Alexander Shaw had seen their arrival through binoculars from a firewatch tower in the northern wilds of Cascadia. She watched the vessel descend like a falling seed, graceful and precise, carving no destruction, leaving no wake. By the time she reached the site, the Volari had already begun assembling spindly drones that skated across the forest floor like curious spiders. They didn't speak English, not at first. They didn't need to. Their minds brushed against human thought like silk, trading intention more than words. It had been 3 months. Shaw's boots crunched over frost-stiff moss as she walked alongside Coral, one of the lead xenobiologists among the Volari. He moved with the sinuous glide of water. No footsteps, no sound. His skin shimmered like carved chrome, reflecting the trees in segmented panels. His large, ridged eyes blinked sideways, unreadable. "This one," he said, gesturing at a grazing elk ahead. "The muscle-to-bone ratio is inefficient. Vulnerable spine. No meaningful defense adaptations. And yet it thrives." Shaw didn't look at him. "Because it doesn't need weapons. It has the forest." Coral tilted his head, considering her. "We see no apex structure. No hierarchical predation like on Voltaren or the dread plains of Marin. Your biosphere lacks teeth." Shaw suppressed a smile. "Keep watching." They continued deeper into the forest, past the silent sentries of pine and fir. Drones hovered overhead, mapping neural signals in birds, recording the pheromone trails of ants. The Volari were fascinated by subtlety, by networks, systems, balance. They found nature elegant, but docile. A place of quiet competition, not conflict. They had no word for feral. "You've been here how long now?" Shaw asked, adjusting the rifle on her shoulder more out of habit than necessity. 83 Earth days," Coral replied. "We've studied 123 vertebrate species. Not one instance of spontaneous aggression outside territorial bounds. Your ecosystem is passive." Shaw paused. "You haven't been here long enough." He stopped, the metallic plates of his body shifting with a gentle hiss. "Explain." She crouched beside a patch of disturbed earth. Shallow claw marks. A broken stick. Something large had moved through here recently, moving fast. You're looking at the wild like it's a sealed exhibit. But this place, it adapts, learns. You're looking for apex predators in isolation. The real danger isn't the animal. It's the lesson we've taught it. Coral's eyes narrowed. Taught. Humans don't just kill predators. We study them. We hunt them. We break them, cage them, breed them. Sometimes we lose control of what we've made. A pause stretched between them, not hostile, just alien. Then the radio at her hip crackled. Static. A male voice, tight and clipped. Bass to Shaw. "You need to see this." "Sending coordinates." She lifted the device, memorized the grid, and gestured for Coral to follow. They arrived at the site 10 minutes later. A Volari drone, what was left of it, lay scattered across a clearing. Not simply broken. Torn apart. Its segmented head was embedded in a tree trunk. One of its optical sensors still blinked dimly, half buried in the dirt. Scorch marks laced the nearby trees, but not from weapons. From claws. Friction. Velocity. Coral stood utterly still. "This is not possible." "Your drones are supposed to be fast, right?" Shaw asked. "Faster than any organic life form on this planet." "Not fast enough," she murmured, kneeling beside the wreckage. She picked up a twisted length of drone plating. Four deep gouges ran along the metal, perfectly spaced. Something ran it down, grabbed it midair. Nothing native to this region is capable of that. Not naturally. She stood, brushing pine needles from her jacket. Her eyes searched the tree line, expression hardening. The sun was lowering, painting the forest in copper and fire. Shadows lengthened. Something was watching them. Quarrel's voice was quieter now. You altered your own predators. Shaw's voice was colder than the wind. We tried to control them. Some of us thought we could teach them, enhance their instincts, make them smarter, use them. Then we lost the program. Budget cuts, ethics boards. They shut it all down. But not before release, Quarrel said, more a statement than a question. She didn't answer. There was a rustle in the undergrowth. Low, heavy breathing. Not one source, several. Quarrel's body flared with internal light, defensive protocols activating. Blades extended from his forearms with a whisper of sliding metal. Shaw didn't draw her weapon. Instead, she crouched and slowly pulled a vial from her pocket. Uncorked it. The scent of blood and musk spilled into the air. Animal pheromones, used for luring or repelling wildlife. Her fingers were steady. What are you doing? Quarrel asked, letting them smell the top of the food chain. In the distance, something snarled. Shaw didn't flinch. You thought Earth was a planet of prey. You didn't realize we don't live here with predators. We raised them, and we taught them how to hunt like us. From the trees, shapes began to move, low to the ground, coordinated, intelligent. Predators not walking in a pack, but in formation. Quarrel stepped back, voice metallic and uneven. What are they? Shaw didn't answer right away. She met the glowing eyes in the dark and smiled. Students. They moved before dawn. Ranger Shaw's team assembled in silence beneath the thinning canopy, where fog clung low and pine needles muffled every footstep. The air was wet with tension. Beside her stood Quarrel, his posture rigid, eyes constantly scanning, his usual detachment fractured by unease. Behind them, 3 human specialists, Rafe, Imani, and Briggs, checked gear without a word, each one trained in adaptive field tactics developed specifically for encounters with Earth's altered fauna. None of them smiled. None of them asked questions. What you saw, Shaw said softly, pulling a tattered map from her coat, was just one group. We believe they're part of a rewilded behavioral spill, former bioadaptive test subjects that escaped when the containment initiative collapsed. They're faster, smarter, and more aggressive than their baseline species. But they don't just attack. They think. Quarrel folded his arms, gleaming chestplate shimmering faintly in the morning mist. They exhibited coordinated ambush behavior. Not instinctual. Exactly. Shaw's finger traced a trail on the map. This valley is their territory. Old government black site sits at the center. If we reach it, we'll know how many are out here, and whether the breeding protocols failed or not. Breeding? Quarrel asked, his voice tight. Shaw met his gaze. Predators don't just hunt. They multiply. They set off in a staggered formation, silent, eyes sharp, weapons low. The forest was a cathedral of shadows. Branches swayed gently overhead, birds long since vanished. Nothing made a sound. That was the first warning. By midday, the team reached a broken ridge. Shaw crouched, inspecting claw marks carved deep into the rock, unnaturally symmetrical. She didn't speak it aloud, but these weren't signs of pursuit. They were territorial boundaries. Markers. Warnings. Humans had once taught these creatures how to signal, how to organize territory like soldiers. Imani tapped her earpiece. Movement, 3 o'clock. Can't confirm visual. Briggs responded, his voice hoarse. Thermal scans muddy. They're masking body heat. Learned behavior, Rafe muttered. No way that's natural. Quarrel didn't speak. He stared into the trees, calculating. The Volari processed fear differently, not as emotion but as risk delta. For the first time since landing on Earth, his risk readings surpassed stable margins. When the first attack came, it was almost beautiful. A blur of muscle and fur shot from the left flank, faster than any wolf should move, its limbs unnaturally elongated, its jaw packed with curved teeth. Rafe fired once, Clean headshot, but two more emerged behind it. Imani spun and dropped one mid-leap. Shaw emptied a burst into the underbrush, hitting only air. Quarrel's body shifted into defense mode, extending energy shields and striking with clean precision. Yet even with his superior reactions, he barely managed to fend off a creature that had learned to anticipate his movement, mimicking Volari combat stances with terrifying mimicry. Shaw planted a flare and fell back. We're not the hunters anymore. Move. They retreated in controlled bursts, leapfrogging down a ravine as more creatures emerged from the trees, not in panic, but in coordination. They weren't chasing, they were driving the humans toward something. Toward the black site. Briggs went down first, caught by a razor-furred beast that broke cover from beneath the soil itself. No scream. Just a sickening snap and silence. Quarrel watched the body dragged backward into the shadows. They're using military encirclement tactics, he said, stunned. Where did they learn that? Shaw's voice was low. From us. They reached the perimeter of the old site, concrete bunkers overrun with vines, satellite dishes bent and rusted, fencing torn open like paper. Shaw signaled a halt and drew her sidearm, the barrel shaking slightly for the first time. Inside the bunker, everything was coated in dust and rot. Lights flickered on emergency power. Quarrel moved cautiously, scanning every surface, transmitting data back to his ship. Project Halter, he said, reading the signage. Genetic behavioral augmentation. Neural reprogramming of wild animals using mirror neurons and tactical imprinting. Shaw nodded grimly. The animals weren't just upgraded. They were trained to respond to combat patterns. They watched human soldiers, mimic tactics, even retained memory across generations. It was supposed to be for defense. Forest guardians. Tracking units. They learned too well, Quarrel said. His voice had lost its usual analytic tone. There was awe now. And fear. A noise echoed through the bunker. Heavy, dragging. Something was inside. Imani raised her weapon. Multiple contacts. They followed us. The hallway trembled as a shape emerged at the far end. Not a beast. A hybrid. It walked on two legs but crouched like a predator, arms thick with sinew, plated with bone and scar tissue. Its eyes were too human. In one hand, it held a piece of scavenged drone tech, twisted into something like a blade. Shaw's voice was barely audible. That's not from the wild. That's a leftover. A control subject. Quarrel took a step back. It's organizing the others. They turned to run, but the back exit was already compromised. The walls shook. The lights flickered out. In the dark, Shaw activated her wrist flare, bathing the room in orange firelight. The hybrid paused at the threshold, staring into the light, unblinking. Around it, smaller forms gathered, wolves with unnatural symmetry, bears scarred by metal implants long since rotted, eyes glowing with intelligence and hate. Then the hybrid made a noise, low, deliberate. A sound not of rage but command. The creatures halted. Shaw stared at it. It's waiting. For what? Quarrel whispered. Shaw slowly holstered her weapon, understanding blooming behind her eyes like a nightmare blooming in reverse. It's studying us. The hybrid tilted its head. Learning. Then it vanished back into the dark, the others following like ghosts. Outside, wind shook the trees. The forest had gone silent again, but not in fear. In anticipation. Shaw turned to Quarrel. They're not killing us. They're observing. The hunt hasn't started yet. Quarrel said nothing. His data core recorded everything, but words no longer seemed adequate. The real predators had arrived. They just hadn't decided to strike yet. Dawn broke over the treeline like a blade, slicing golden light through the heavy mist. Smoke still curled from the bunker's broken entrance. Inside, blood and circuitry clung to the walls in equal measure. Ranger Shaw crouched beside the fire pit they'd built from shattered equipment, wrapping gauze around a wound in Imani's shoulder. Nearby, Quarrel knelt with an open holographic projector, scanning recordings from the encounter with the hybrid leader. His usually serene face was drawn tight, analytical certainty buried beneath a quiet dread. They didn't kill us, he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. No, Shaw replied, tying off the bandage. They wanted us alive. Imani hissed through her teeth. To send a message? Shaw shook her head.
No.
They're doing what we used to do. Studying prey behavior before engagement. They're war planning. The room fell silent, broken only by the crackle of static and the slow hum of Quarrel's data core recalibrating. Quarrel finally stood. Their behavioral patterns resemble low-level command intelligence. That hybrid, it learned from you. From your people. Not just movements or tactics, but restraint.
Discipline.
Tactical mercy. Shaw stood and brushed ash from her sleeves. They're beyond random mutation now. They're a species. Maybe even a culture. That makes them dangerous, Imani said. Shaw met her eyes. That makes them something worse. Predictive. They moved out again at mid-morning, deeper into the forest heart. Reinforcements were days away. The Volari Council had ordered an immediate withdrawal, but Quarrel stayed. Not from loyalty, but from obsession. He had seen something in that hybrid leader that haunted his logic. Intent. The trees grew denser, branches knotted like muscle. Birdsong never returned. The predators had cleared the air. As they moved, they passed evidence. Bone piles arranged in patterns, claw-scratch symbols across tree trunks that mirrored ancient tribal markings. Communication. Territory. Ritual. They found the nest just before dusk. A cave system buried beneath a collapsed cliff, veiled in vines and silence. Shaw signaled a halt. Her breath fogged as the temperature dipped unnaturally low. We go in quiet, she said. No lights. No voices. If it sees us first, we're already dead. Quarrel activated a low-range scanning halo. The entrance glowed faintly in his vision, revealing organic heat signatures deeper inside. Moving, sleeping, gathering. At the center, one shape larger than the rest, motionless but radiating control. The hybrid. They descended slowly, air thick with damp stone and musk. Inside, the walls were etched with markings, crude at first glance, but on closer inspection, schematic. The Volari drones dissected, internal cores mapped and recreated. A network of mimicry designed for learning, replication. Then came the smell. Copper and rot. Rafe, who had rejoined them with scars but no complaints, whispered, "This isn't just a nest. It's a lab." Shaw's boots slid on blood-slick rock. "No," she said. "It's a classroom." The hybrid was waiting at the center. No surprise, no panic. It stood, slowly, claws flexing, head tilted. Around it, younger creatures knelt. Not in fear. In reverence. It took a step forward, and the silence deepened. Quarrel raised a scanner. It's accessing a primitive linguistic interface. It's trying to communicate. No, Shaw said, stepping ahead of him, lowering her weapon. It already has. She raised her arm, bearing the scar where she had been clawed during a previous encounter. The hybrid's eyes narrowed. Then slowly it raised its own arm, showing an identical mark. Recognition. Shaw took another step forward. Her voice was steady, quiet. We created you. We trained you. We tried to control you. And now you've outgrown us. The hybrid blinked slowly. Shaw continued. But what you don't understand is this: we don't stop being predators just because we put on uniforms. Suddenly, without warning, she reached into her coat and tossed something to the ground between them. A scent vial. One she had crafted from the blood of the hybrid's closest kin, taken from the first sight of violence weeks ago. The air changed instantly. The younger beasts tensed. The hybrid froze. Then Shaw moved. She lunged forward with a buried blade fashioned from repurposed Volari alloy, striking upward in a move too fast for the eye to follow. It caught the hybrid beneath the jaw, shallow enough not to kill, but deep enough to bleed. A precise, surgical wound. A lesson. Blood hit the cave floor. The younger creatures shrieked and withdrew. The hybrid didn't strike back. It stared at her, wide-eyed, stunned. Quarrel's voice echoed in the cavern. Why didn't it retaliate? Because it understands now, Shaw said, stepping back. The hybrid touched its own wound, then hers. They matched again. We're not just the ones who created them, she said. We're the ones they can't surpass. Not yet. The hybrid gave a low, guttural sound. Then it knelt, and the others followed. Outside, the sky turned violet, stars emerging like silent witnesses. Coral stared in disbelief. You've asserted dominance over an emerging sentient predator race with nothing but instinct and memory.
No, Shaw said.
With history. With hierarchy. Imani exhaled sharply. What now? Shaw looked out toward the horizon. We don't kill them. We don't run. We teach them what it means to fear us again. Not because we're cruel, but because we remember what happened when we forgot to be the apex. Coral remained quiet, recording everything, though even his technology struggled to process the shift in power. Shaw began the walk out of the cave, never looking back. The others followed. Behind them, a new silence filled the space, not of threat, but reverence. The forest would remain wild, but it would remember who taught it to be dangerous.